Grace, my mother, had just been rushed into emergency surgery after a car crash. I tore into the company parking garage, heart pounding, only to find the space where I parked my limited edition Porsche was empty. Vanished. Gone without a trace. In its place stood a pathetic excuse for transportation, a beat-up e-bike that looked like it'd be lucky to sell for $300 at a junkyard auction. I was 1 second from calling the police when Vanessa, my fiancée, stepped in front of me. "Oh, Ethan," she said, like she'd just remembered. "I forgot to tell you. I gave the Porsche to Mason. You can take his e-bike for today." I turned to her, pointing at the rusted heap like it had personally insulted me. "You expect me to ride that to the hospital? My mother is in the ICU right now." Her expression hardened. "You're being ridiculous," she snapped. "What, you think you're too good for an e-bike? Is that it, you're embarrassed by something that looks poor?" She folded her arms like she'd won some moral high ground. "What's wrong with an e-bike, huh? You might even make better time weaving through traffic on that thing than crawling behind a steering wheel in your precious Porsche." Then she threw in the dagger. "Unless you'd rather waste more time arguing, and miss the chance to see your mom alive." I didn't waste another word. If she was so enlightened, so smugly unbothered by the e-bike, then let her keep it. Along with the courtesy of every luxury car I ever gave her. And while she's at it, she can watch Monroe Corporation go up in flames. I slapped Vanessa hard. The sound cracked through the garage like a whip. She stumbled back a step, stunned, one hand slowly rising to her cheek. "You hit me," she whispered, eyes wide. "Over this? When did you turn into someone so irrational?" "Irrational?" I shot back, my voice low and shaking. My eyes locked on hers, cold and distant, like I was staring at a stranger. "My mother is in the ER right now, waiting for me to sign off on surgery. And you want me to ride a busted e-bike 30 miles to get there? By the time I show up, she might already be gone." I didn't wait for another word. I turned and bolted out of the garage, pulling out my phone to order a ride. But it was rush hour. Downtown. Not a single Uber would take the trip. I stood on the curb, watching one cancellation after another. My jaw clenched. No time. I sprinted back to the garage, grabbed Vanessa by the arm. "You have a car, drive me. Now." She jerked her arm free like I'd burned her. "Oh, so now you need me," she snapped. "Here's the deal, Ethan. Either you take the e-bike, or you stay right here. I'm done being your backup plan every time you blow a fuse." I stared at her, chest rising, fists clenched. My whole body was shaking with rage and panic. Finally, I choked out the words, my voice raw. "Fine. Please. Just take me to the hospital. Get me there, and I won't hold today against you. You have my word." Her eyes rolled with open annoyance. "Quit stalling," she snapped. "You keep dragging this out, you might just miss your last chance to see your mother alive." Something inside me snapped. I lunged forward, ripped the keys straight from her pocket, and with the same motion, slapped her again, harder than before. "You wait right here," I snarled through clenched teeth, voice hoarse with fury. My eyes burned red as I spun toward her car and bolted. 7 years since we met. 5 years together. And now? She dared to treat my mother's life like it was some kind of joke. Maybe this was what happened when my parents, trying to keep the peace, funneled favor after favor into Monroe Corporation. Maybe all that privilege had gone to her head. Turned her into someone who thought she was untouchable. Someone who forgot where the line was. I didn't care anymore. I slammed her car into gear and flew through traffic like my life depended on it, because in some ways, it did. By the time I skidded to a stop in front of the emergency entrance, my chest was on fire from holding my breath. The nurse at the reception desk looked up, unimpressed. "You're lucky," she said sharply. "Any later and your mother wouldn't have made it through." I signed the consent forms with shaking hands, barely seeing the paper through the blur in my eyes. And when it was done, when the adrenaline crashed out of my system, I collapsed onto a bench in the hallway. My phone lit up in my hand. Call after call after call. Vanessa. The moment I picked up, her voice came tearing through the line, laced with fury. "How dare you take my car? I have to be at Mason's birthday dinner right now. What the hell am I supposed to drive?" I let out a quiet, dry laugh. My tone came easy, almost bored. "Oh, I don't know," I said. "Why not take the e-bike? Thought you liked that thing." She choked on silence for a beat, then spat back, venom in her voice. "You expect me to ride that piece of junk out in public?" I mimicked the tone she'd used on me just hours ago, slow and deliberate. "What's wrong with an e-bike, huh? Doesn't it cut through traffic just fine? Might even be faster than your precious car." Dead air. A few seconds of pure, boiling quiet. Then she exploded. "You did this on purpose, didn't you?" I leaned back against the wall, eyes fixed on the red ICU light at the end of the corridor, and let out a low scoff. "Vanessa, when you told me to bike 30 miles to the hospital earlier, did it even cross your mind what might happen to my mom?" I didn't even get to finish the sentence. She cut in, voice shrill and slicing. "Mason's birthday is important. Your mom's little health scare could've." Click. I hung up. Even before her call came in, the nurse's voice kept replaying in my head. "Any later and your mother wouldn't have made it." And yet, to Vanessa, my mom's life wasn't even worth postponing Mason's birthday dinner. That truth lodged deep in my chest, colder than anger, heavier than grief. I sat outside the ICU, slouched on the bench, phone in hand, staring blankly at the screen. Then Slack lit up. Notifications fired off like fireworks, dozens, maybe hundreds in seconds. At the top of the storm was Mason. "Ethan, I know you've always been jealous that I have a car. You've borrowed mine behind my back more times than I can count, and I've let it slide. But this? You couldn't take mine today, so you went and stole the boss's car? Be smart, return Vanessa's car now." The whole channel detonated. One comment after another. "Wait, what? He stole Monroe's car? Is this some insane attempt to get her attention? I always thought the guy in designer watches and a Porsche was some rich kid slumming it, turns out he's just a damn thief. Mason, you're way too nice. If it were me, I'd have called the cops the second he touched my keys." The feed kept flooding with judgment, outrage, mockery. Each message another punch to the gut. And all I could do was sit there, outside my mother's hospital room, watching my name burn. Mason followed up in the channel, riding his sudden spotlight like a pro. "It's totally normal for young guys to feel competitive, no need to call the cops over something so minor." And just like that, the tone shifted. "That's our boss, always classy. Some people should crawl out and apologize already." I stared at the screen in disbelief. It was absurd. All of it. I'd assumed Mason was just Vanessa's assistant, her glorified calendar manager. But clearly, I'd underestimated him. This wasn't just some office fling. I'd only taken the internship at Monroe Corp to stay close to Vanessa. To keep things low-key, I'd hidden who I was, never once mentioned my full name, never flashed my background. And now? Now Mason was seated at the top, while the rest of the company dragged my name through the mud like I was some obsessed intern crashing the gates. I let out a slow, bitter laugh, then typed directly into the public channel. "At Vanessa. So, you gave him the boss's chair too?" The channel froze for a few seconds. Then all hell broke loose. Whoa, did he just question Mason? Dude's off the rails. Jealous much? Right on cue, Mason chimed in again, all wide-eyed innocence. "Ah, come on, guys. Ms. Monroe and I just happen to work closely, that's all. Don't make it weird. You're gonna embarrass me if you keep saying things like that." He dropped a blushing emoji. The reactions exploded. And I sat there, still outside my mother's hospital room, watching the circus burn around me, while the two people who started it acted like they were royalty. I was about to type a reply, something, anything, when Vanessa's message beat me to it. "Ethan, unauthorized use of a colleague's vehicle will result in a deduction from this month's performance bonus." The channel erupted in agreement. Applause emojis. Thumbs up. The whole self-righteous chorus of sycophants. She'd officially branded me a thief. No trial. No questions. Just the verdict, public, permanent, and humiliating. Then Mason tagged me with a new post. A video. At Ethan, "Hey man, if you're ever that hungry, just let me know. I'll buy you lunch. No need to fight the trash can for scraps, so unsanitary." I clicked the clip. It showed me pulling something from a trash bin and putting it in my mouth. Except it wasn't real. The reversal effect was crude, obvious to anyone who'd passed a basic media class. But no one cared. The responses came hard and fast. "Oh my God, was he eating from the trash? Disgusting. If he's willing to do that, what else is he dragging into the office? I don't want to catch some disease. How is someone like that even allowed past the front desk?" And then Vanessa joined in again, her words laced with icy disdain. "Ethan, we have a company cafeteria. You don't need to resort to these cheap stunts for pity." I stared at her message, feeling the sting behind every syllable. She wasn't just siding with them. She was leading the hunt. My blood was boiling, rage pumping through every vein, roaring straight to my skull. I fired a message into the Slack channel, directly at her. "Vanessa. You're accusing me of digging through trash to gain sympathy? Did you even watch the video? The reverse edit is obvious." Her reply came instantly, like she'd been waiting to pounce. "Don't try to weasel out of it. Reverse edit? Please. You did it, now own it. Playing victim won't erase the fact that you stole a car." Her disgust practically bled through the screen. I took a slow, steadying breath, and this time, I turned my aim at Mason. "I'll ask you one last time. Are you absolutely sure that car was yours? You didn't, say, steal mine first?" I didn't even get a chance to watch him type. The rest of them swarmed in. "You've lost it, man. Drive someone's car a few times and suddenly you think you own it? Broke boys out here faking trust funds. That car's worth $500,000, face it, Ethan, you'll never touch that kind of money in your life." Then came the mockery, thick and fast. "Cat got your tongue, Ethan? What happened, huh? Rich boy persona cracked too soon. Let me guess, next you'll say Mason stole your identity too." The channel had turned into a firing squad. No one paused long enough for facts. No one wanted the truth. They wanted a villain, and I was already in flames. I finally dug up the title and ownership documents, clear proof that the car was mine. One message. That's all it would take to shut them up. But when I tried to post it in the Slack channel, I realized I'd already been removed. Kicked out by Mason. Almost immediately, a private message from Vanessa popped up. "Stop stirring things up in the channel." Then Mason messaged me too, like he was doing me a favor. "Hey Ethan, don't blow this out of proportion. Vanessa says if you just apologize, we'll drop the whole car theft and pity stunt thing, okay?" That fake, sanctimonious tone of his made my stomach churn. I closed the app without replying and sat back down outside the ICU. No more arguments. No more ego battles. Right now, the only thing I could do was pray, to whatever would listen, that my mother would make it. 4 hours crawled by. Then, footsteps echoed down the corridor. I looked up, and there she was. Vanessa, striding toward me in her heels like she owned the place, perfectly composed. Behind her was Mason, dressed in a crisp suit, putting on the air of someone important. He jogged the last few steps and reached out, grabbing my hand like we were old friends. "Ethan," he said, eyes wide with artificial concern, "why didn't you tell me your mom was in an accident? If I'd known, I never would have taken the car. I swear, man." I yanked my hand away. Hard. Then just stood there, staring him down, stone cold. Let him finish his little act. I wasn't buying a word. Vanessa's brows pulled together, her voice clipped and cold. "Ethan, can you not be so hostile? Mason's been incredibly patient, considering you took his car. He even skipped his own birthday dinner just to come check on you." I stared at her, my throat tightening. "Took his car?" My voice came out low, rough. "You've actually convinced yourself of that lie too?" Before she could respond, Mason jumped in, all soft tones and faux humility. "Oh, come on now. Are we still talking about this? I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it." He turned toward me, the corners of his mouth lifting into a mock-sincere smile. "That Porsche? Vanessa gave it to me as a birthday gift. The registration's in my name now." Then came the kicker, he cocked his head, almost playful. "Is this about me having a car and you don't? Is that what's really bothering you? No big deal, Ethan. You ever want to drive it, just ask. I'm always happy to share." He dangled the car keys in front of me with a casual little flick of his wrist, like a man tossing a bone. And that's when I saw it. Hanging from the keychain was a green jade pendant. I froze. My nails dug into my palms. That wasn't just any trinket. That was the jade my mother had hunted for across Europe when I was a kid, her first birthday gift to me. She'd said it would keep me safe. That it was mine. And now it was swinging from his keys, in his hand, like a goddamn trophy. Like I didn't exist. I lunged forward and clamped my hand around Mason's wrist. He yelped in pain. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Vanessa immediately grabbed my arm and yanked me back. Mason cradled his wrist, staggering a few steps away. For a brief second, I caught it. A glint of triumph in his eyes. Then it vanished, replaced by an exaggerated pout of wounded innocence. He raised his voice, just enough to draw attention from the hallway. "Ethan. You can't just snatch my car keys in public like that." Heads turned. People slowed, gathered, lingered. Exactly what he wanted. I didn't move. My voice shook as I stared him down, eyes locked on that jade pendant. "That jade," I said through clenched teeth. "Where did you get it?" Mason blinked, feigning surprise. Then came the smile. "Oh, that? Vanessa gave it to me. Said it was just some old thing from her family. But hey, if you like it, I'm sure she can find you a new one." Vanessa chimed in smoothly, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. The key fob looked plain, so I grabbed some old jade piece from home and clipped it on. "What? You want this now too?" My jaw locked. I could feel my molars grinding as I forced the words out, cold and flat. "Vanessa, do you have any idea what that pendant is? That was the first birthday gift my mother ever gave me. She spent days searching for it across Europe when I was a kid. It's not some throwaway family trinket, it's mine." I stepped forward, yanked the pendant from Mason's keys, and shoved it up between them, hard. "Take a good look," I said, voice raw. "See that E engraved on the back? My name is Ethan Eleanor. And you're seriously claiming this came from your family?" Vanessa froze. Mason went pale. A hush fell over the crowd, then whispers began to spread. E. That's clearly his initial. God, if he hadn't shown that engraving, I might have believed them. Vanessa's face flushed red, then white. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Mason's jaw clenched. Then, suddenly, he raised his voice in a sharp, desperate pitch. So what? One letter and it's yours? My full name's Mason Clark, maybe the E is for Edward, my middle name. It was a gift from Vanessa. She knew what she was doing. Vanessa rushed to back him up. She surged forward, reaching for the pendant in my hand. Yes. E doesn't only stand for Ethan. It's a blessing I gave Mason, don't twist this into something it's not. Stop making a scene. The tide of judgment stopped mid-turn. Everyone stood still, caught between accusations and revelations, unsure whom to believe. I gripped the jade pendant so tightly the cord dug into my skin, the edges biting into my palm like a lifeline I refused to let go. Vanessa stared me down, her brow twitching. Then she raised her hand, and slapped me. Hard. I hadn't eaten all day. The room tilted sideways. And then everything went black as I hit the floor. As I collapsed, the world tilting around me, my eyes locked on her face. Vanessa. For a fleeting second, something old and buried stirred. I saw her as she once was, sitting beside my bed when I was sick, dabbing my fevered skin with a cool cloth, whispering softly that everything would be all right. That she was there. That I wasn't alone. But the woman standing before me now? The venom in her eyes, the cold curl of her lip, it was like staring at a stranger in the same skin. Clinging to the last flicker of something that might still be real, I rasped her name. Vanessa. She recoiled, fast, like I was diseased. Don't say my name, she snapped, voice sharp with disgust. You make me sick. She raised the jade pendant high in the air, towering over me, her expression twisted with contempt. You want this stupid trinket back, she said. Fine. Apologize to Mason, right here, right now, and I'll let it go. But if you don't, she smiled coolly, tilting the pendant between her fingers, I'll smash it to pieces. It's just a dumb piece of jade anyway. I can buy Mason something better. Mason, standing off to the side, put on a show of performative empathy. Vanessa, no, don't do that. Ethan clearly loves this thing. Maybe we should just let him have it, he said, voice dripping with condescension. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Someone finally spoke up. Don't be naive, sir. Guys like him? You give them an inch, they'll take the whole damn house. Next thing he wants won't be some pendant. Vanessa nodded slowly, savoring the attention, her chin lifted high as she looked down at me, waiting for me to break. Well? Vanessa sneered. Are you going to apologize or not? I stared at the jade pendant dangling from her fingers, trembling, barely holding on by the cord. My chest tightened. My voice cracked. Vanessa, don't do this. Her fingers released. Just like that. The pendant plummeted. No. I lunged, stretching forward with everything I had, but I was too late. The jade hit the ground with a sickening crack. It shattered. I froze. All the blood in my body felt like it drained in an instant. I reached for the broken pieces, hands shaking uncontrollably. Tears welled up, spilled over, and came flooding down my cheeks as I cupped the shards in my palm. That wasn't just a gift. That was my mother. That was love and safety and memory, gone in a blink. The crowd, once buzzing with jeers, suddenly fell silent. A new figure stepped into the circle. Anna. She pushed through the crowd, her face tightening as soon as she saw me on the ground, tears streaking down my cheeks. Ethan, she called out. She rushed to my side and knelt, gently brushing the tears from my face, her touch full of warmth and fierce protectiveness. "What happened?" she asked, her voice low, steady, but laced with steel. Vanessa stiffened in place, caught off guard. "Ms. Caldwell? What are you doing here?" She glanced at Anna, pulling me close, shielding me with her body. There was a flicker of panic behind her eyes. You know Ethan?" I clutched the broken jade tighter, sobbing as I buried my face against Anna's shoulder. "Sis, the pendant Grace gave me, she smashed it." Anna's entire expression shifted. Her calm cracked, replaced by something glacial and dangerous. She stood slowly, turning her gaze on Vanessa with such cold precision it could have sliced through steel. And in that moment, it was clear. This wasn't over. It had only just begun. Anna pulled out her phone. Calm. Controlled. She turned her back slightly as she made the call. "Execute the order," she said flatly. "You may proceed." Vanessa was still reeling from what she'd heard me say, me calling Anna sister. It hadn't registered. Couldn't. She blinked rapidly, pointing between the two of us, her voice cracking with disbelief. You called her your sister. Are you really her brother?" Before I could answer, her own phone started vibrating violently in her pocket. She answered on instinct. A second later, her father's panicked voice exploded through the speaker, echoing down the hospital hallway. "Vanessa! What the hell did you do? Caldwell Holdings just pulled everything. All our contracts, terminated. The banks, our accounts, frozen. Every cent, gone. We're going under." Silence. It hit her like a lightning strike. Her phone slipped from her fingers and crashed onto the floor. She stared at me, lips trembling, eyes wide with shock. No sound came out. Just breath and disbelief. Anna stepped forward and gently helped me to my feet, never breaking her gaze from Vanessa. Her expression was unreadable, cold, restrained, yet simmering. "This," she said quietly, "was only the beginning." I turned to go. Vanessa finally moved, snapping out of her daze. She reached for me, desperate. "Wait. Ethan, please, let me explain." Anna's eyes narrowed, sharp as glass. A pair of bodyguards moved between us before Vanessa could get any closer. She panicked. Started to thrash. "No. Please, Ethan. I was wrong, I didn't know. You have to help me." Her voice cracked under the weight of panic. But I didn't turn back. Mason stood frozen behind her, watching it all unfold with wide, hollow eyes, utterly lost, not understanding the avalanche that had just swept through and flipped everything upside down. As the guards dragged Vanessa toward the exit, Mason's panic spilled over. "Let her go," he shouted, voice cracking. "You can't treat her like this. What the hell is going on? What bankruptcy? Someone tell me what's happening." But Vanessa didn't even seem to hear him. Her lips moved, repeating the same two words over and over again like a broken recording. "It's over, it's all over." She fumbled for her phone, hands shaking, scrolling frantically through her contacts. One after another, she hit call. But all she got was cold, looping static. "The line you are calling is currently unavailable." Vanessa stood there, hollow. A body without a soul. Her eyes slowly lifted to meet mine. And then, like something inside her snapped, she broke free from the guards, stumbled forward, and dropped to her knees in front of me. She bowed. Right there in the middle of the hospital hallway. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," she sobbed. Please, Ethan. Just give me one more chance. I'll do anything you want." I looked down at her, this woman who once swore she loved me, who once sat beside me at my sickbed, and I felt nothing. No pity. No anger. Just a quiet, hollow clarity. "Vanessa," I said softly. "Do you even understand what that jade pendant meant to me? My mom searched for days across Europe to find it. I've kept it all these years, never even wore it, I was afraid of losing it. And you stole it. You gave it to your lover. Then you shattered it in front of me like it meant nothing." She collapsed further, trembling violently, unable to form a response. Still on her knees, she crawled forward and grabbed at my pant leg, sobbing. "I'll replace it, I'll buy you a new one, or 10. Just, please. Please don't ruin me." I stared down at her, stone-faced. Then I kicked her hand off. She tumbled backward with a gasp but scrambled forward again, tears streaking down her face. "It wasn't all my fault," she wailed. "It was him. He pushed me into it, Mason told me to do it." She jabbed a trembling finger at Mason, her voice rising into hysteria. "The car, the pendant, all of it was his idea. He was the one who couldn't stand you. He's the one who made me, he's jealous of you, Ethan. He's always been jealous." And just like that, the final act of her desperation began. Vanessa, willing to drown the only person still standing beside her, just to keep her own head above water. Mason's eyes widened in shock, as if he couldn't believe what he'd just heard. "You lying bitch," he shouted, charging toward her. "I seduced you. You've been trash-talking Ethan since day one. You were the one who gave me his car and called it a gift. You said the jade pendant was valuable and stole it so you could show it off." His face flushed with rage, veins bulging at his temples. "And now you're pinning it all on me?" Before anyone could stop him, Mason swung, his fist crashing into Vanessa's cheek with a brutal smack. She shrieked in pain, stumbling sideways, holding her face. "You heartless bitch," he roared. "You told me you loved me. You said all his things were ours. Now you're throwing me under the bus?" Vanessa scrambled back, screaming. "You greedy bastard. You begged me to buy you things like some spoiled brat. $1 million wasn't enough, now you want Ethan's car and his pendant too? You want to shift the blame now? Not a chance." And then they were at each other's throats, clawing, punching, screaming. Mason tore out clumps of her hair, Vanessa ripped at his shirt and slapped him so hard his head snapped sideways. In the scuffle, her blouse tore at the shoulder, exposing her bra strap. The scene was loud, chaotic, grotesque. They didn't care. They had no shame, no dignity left. Just two animals tearing each other apart in the middle of a sterile hospital corridor. I stood motionless, watching the wreckage unfold, the sound of their shouting drilling into my skull. And all I could think was, "My mother is still in surgery." Anna caught my eye and gave a silent nod. Then she turned to the bodyguards and murmured, "Get these lunatics out of here. Now. The noise is going to disrupt the doctors." Without hesitation, the guards moved in, strong, silent, efficient. It was time to take out the trash. The bodyguards moved in with quiet precision, grabbing Mason and Vanessa, one by each arm, and dragging them down the hallway. Their shrieks and curses echoed after them, bouncing off the sterile walls until the sound finally faded into silence. The crowd, having gotten their fill of drama, began to disperse, whispering, glancing back, some reluctant to leave the spectacle behind. Then, the surgical light above the OR door flicked off with a soft click. A doctor emerged, pulling down his mask, his face calm. He gave us a small nod. "The surgery was a success," he said. "She's stable and has been moved to a general care room. The next step is monitoring her recovery." I exhaled for what felt like the first time all day. The weight that had been crushing my chest finally lifted. When Mom woke up, and I sat beside her and told her everything, she squeezed my hand gently and sighed. "You've learned the hard way," she said, eyes soft but steady. "The wrong people leave bruises, but they also teach you how to see clearly. Next time, choose someone who truly loves you. I leaned in, resting my head on her shoulder. That familiar warmth. That scent I'd known since childhood, clean linen, herbal balm, and the faint trace of the home we built together. With a small smile, I whispered, "I'm not scared anymore, Mom. Not as long as I have you and Anna." Anna and I had always lived in the same house, but carried different last names, me taking after our father, her after our mother. Vanessa had always known I came from money. What she didn't know, what she never imagined, was that I had ties to the Caldwell name. To the outside world, Anna was the only child of Caldwell Holdings, sole heir to one of the wealthiest empires in the country. What they didn't see was me. I'd been sickly as a child, fragile, vulnerable. And to protect me, our parents made a choice. They told the world they had only one child. Only Anna. And in doing so, they gave me a life without constant threat or expectation. Until now. The day Mom was discharged, Anna arranged a small welcome dinner at the estate. But just as we pulled up to the gates, we saw a figure crouched beside the flower bed, hair disheveled, clothes torn, face streaked with dirt. It was Vanessa. Her eyes were dull, almost vacant, but the second she spotted us, they lit up with desperate hope. She stumbled forward, throwing herself at Anna's legs like a drowning woman grabbing the last floating branch. "Miss Caldwell, please, give me another chance. I'll do anything. I'll be your servant, your slave, just don't shut me out." Anna's expression didn't flicker. She raised her foot and kicked Vanessa off with brutal precision. "When you were tearing Ethan apart, you weren't begging for mercy." Her voice turned sharp. "Now you want sympathy? You're too late." Vanessa hit the ground hard, landing halfway in the flower bed. Dirt streaked up her blouse, but she scrambled back up, still crawling, still clinging to denial. "I swear I've changed," she whimpered. "Let me serve Ethan, I'll do anything, please just don't ruin me." Then her eyes snapped toward me, wild, unhinged. "We're supposed to get married. You can't just leave me like this." I looked down at her, mud-streaked, mascara running, clutching at the edges of the life she'd already destroyed. And all I could feel was disgust. "Marry you?" I said, voice flat. "You lied, manipulated me, humiliated me in front of the whole company, and you think I'd still marry you? When you made me bike 30 miles to my mother's hospital bed, when you shattered the pendant she gave me, did you think about today?" She lunged again, reaching for the cuff of my pants. And that's when another figure stormed into the chaos. A woman, maybe in her 50s, overdressed in designer knockoffs, eyes blazing with fury. She rushed over and yanked Vanessa up like she were a child. "Vanessa! Why are you groveling like this? Have some self-respect." Then her gaze turned to me, sharp, sizing, dripping with scorn. And her tone turned mocking. "So this is Ethan, huh? Over a few minor things, you're really gonna throw a tantrum like this? If my daughter marries you, are we supposed to serve you hand and foot for the rest of our lives?" "I'll tell you what," she snapped. "You're lucky she even agreed to marry you. Now, if you want my blessing, you can start by wiring $50 million into Monroe Corporation. Otherwise, forget it." Vanessa's mother. Margaret. And suddenly, everything about Vanessa made perfect sense. Watching this mother-daughter duo twist reality with such shameless conviction was almost laughable. Anna didn't hesitate. She stepped forward and stood firmly in front of me, shielding me the way she used to when we were kids, shoulders squared, gaze icy. $50 million for what?" she said flatly. "I don't pay trash to take itself out." That did it. Margaret exploded. "You little bitch. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? Vanessa's doing Ethan a favor by being with him. That $5 million? That was me being generous. You keep running your mouth and I'll take care of you too." She was screeching now, spitting as she screamed, arms flailing like a street corner lunatic. Gone was any semblance of social grace, just raw, shrill chaos. But before her tantrum could hit full volume, a new sound echoed from around the corner, heavy boots against stone. A group of men emerged. Not in suits. Not in uniform. These were bruisers. At least 4 of them, led by a man built like a brick wall with a scar across his jaw. His expression was pure muscle and menace. Without a word, he stormed forward and kicked Vanessa hard, sending her tumbling backward into the edge of the flower bed. She hit the stone lip with a gasp. "You said today," the man barked. "You said we'd get paid today. You dragged us out here to this circus, wasted our time. So where's the money?" His voice dropped an octave. "Dangerous. Don't pay up today, I swear to God, we'll strip you both down and toss you into the street." Margaret's swagger vanished. So did her voice. She froze, wide-eyed, suddenly small. Vanessa curled in on herself, shaking like a leaf. Whatever they'd owed, it was serious. And now, the debt collectors had come to collect. The debt collectors weren't playing. Their leader stepped forward, towering, fists clenched at his sides. Margaret's eyes flicked between him and me. Then, suddenly, she lit up like she had a brilliant idea. She jabbed her finger in my direction, forcing a bright, sugary smile onto her face. "Him. Go ask him. That's Vanessa's husband. He's from Caldwell Holdings, filthy rich, he'll pay." All 4 men turned to look at me. Their eyes raked me up and down. The one in front took a slow step forward, that greedy glint flashing across his face. "Well then," he growled, "this makes things easy. Monroe Corporation still owes us $100 million. Guess you're gonna cover it now. Unless you'd rather we start with your wife's legs." I smiled. Just a little. Not kindly. "Break them," I said coolly. "She's not my wife. I've got nothing to do with either of them." That flicker of confusion, followed by rage, spread across Margaret's face. She dropped the act in an instant and shrieked like a banshee, throwing herself to the ground. "You are her husband. You're engaged, you have to help her. If you don't pay," she screeched, slapping the pavement, "I swear, I'll go online and tell the world what a cold-blooded bastard you are. I'll tell them you abandoned your wife. That you left a poor girl to die in the street." She writhed on the ground, kicking her legs like a tantrum-throwing toddler. Watching her unravel like this, I felt my temples throb. The sheer noise of it, the shamelessness, it was enough to make my skull pound. That I took a step forward, hands in my pockets, calm as still water. "Sure," I said, voice even. "If you don't care about embarrassing yourselves even more, go ahead. Scream online. Just know this, Monroe Corporation's reputation has already been buried deeper than you can dig." "But you?" I added, eyes flicking to the thugs. "Trying to scam your way into someone else's wallet? Think we're that stupid?" Before they could answer, Anna moved beside me. Her presence cut through the air like a blade of ice. "I'll give you one chance," she said, her tone calm but deadly. "Take your daughter and leave. Now. Or I'll make sure Monroe Corporation is blacklisted from this city, permanently." Margaret opened her mouth to argue, but one look into Anna's eyes shut her up. She knew. Anna wasn't bluffing. She grabbed Vanessa's arm and tried to retreat, dragging her away like a sack of shame. But the debt collectors had other plans. They stepped in fast, blocking her escape. "Leaving?" the lead thug snapped. "Where's our money?" Margaret started bawling again. "I swear, I don't have it. Just ask Ethan, he's got more than enough." The thug spit at her feet in disgust. Then he hauled off and slapped her so hard her head snapped sideways. "You think we're stupid?" he barked. "That man already said he's not your son-in-law. Why the hell would he pay for your mess? He turned to Vanessa, snarling. Fine. No money? Then your daughter doesn't need both legs. The two of them, mother and daughter, were surrounded, trapped like rats. Vanessa looked at me then, eyes wide, pleading, glassy with panic. I didn't flinch. I turned to the gatehouse and gave a small nod. The security guard immediately shut the wrought iron doors of the estate. And just like that, the chaos was sealed on the outside. Inside? Peace. Because some doors, once slammed shut, don't open again. Later, the security team filled me in. The mother and daughter didn't leave quietly. Vanessa's legs were broken. Margaret, desperate, had to sell off their house in the countryside just to cover a fraction of the debt. But it wasn't nearly enough. That night, I sat in my room, staring at my phone screen as my hands began to tremble. YouTube had just pushed a live broadcast to my feed. I tapped it open. There she was. Vanessa. Her legs wrapped in blood-stained gauze, slumped in a wheelchair under a hospital sheet that looked like it hadn't been changed in days. Beside her, Margaret wailed into the camera like she was auditioning for a tragedy. Caldwell Holdings used their power to crush us, she sobbed. Their son seduced my daughter, drained our family dry, and then had her legs broken. What kind of monsters do something like this? They said we'd be erased if we spoke up, kicked out of society, left with nothing. The live chat exploded. Who is this Ethan guy? Some trust fund psycho? This is sick. Someone call the cops on Caldwell Holdings. This is what the rich get away with. Disgusting. Justice for Vanessa. Margaret sniffled theatrically and wiped away non-existent tears. I want to go to the police, she whimpered. But they threatened to throw us in the ocean. Said they'd feed us to the sharks if we said a word. All we want is justice, she moaned. Look at my poor daughter, she can't even walk anymore. And the camera panned in on Vanessa, face pale, hands shaking in her lap like a broken porcelain doll. The next morning, headlines screamed across every finance feed. Caldwell Holdings faces public outcry after viral allegations. The company's stock took a sharp hit. I watched the slander spread like wildfire, lies dressed up as victimhood, and felt a white-hot fury rise from deep in my chest. They were burning us alive with words. And the world was feeding on it. I called my lawyer. Within hours, we had everything. Surveillance footage from around the estate. The full debt contract. And a signed affidavit verifying the footage's authenticity, just in case anyone cried deepfake. I uploaded it all to YouTube. No commentary. No edits. Just the raw truth. The video showed everything in brutal clarity, Vanessa and Margaret arriving at the gate like hyenas, trying to manipulate, threaten, and finally pleading with crocodile tears. It captured the moment the debt collectors showed up. The screaming. The accusations. The violence they brought on themselves. The contract was crystal clear. Debtor, Monroe Corporation. Amount owed, $100 million. Liability, not affiliated with Ethan Eleanor or Caldwell Holdings. The internet flipped overnight. The same mob that had screamed for my head now turned on them like wolves catching the scent of blood. Wait, so they lied about everything? The mother literally begged the thugs to ask Ethan for money. This is disgusting. I'm so embarrassed I believed that live stream. They're manipulative garbage. Their live stream was overrun. Comment after comment filled the screen. Liars. Fraud. Shameless. Margaret fumbled for the off switch, her hands shaking so badly she kept hitting the wrong button. The camera caught her trying to kill the feed, her face pale and panicked. But it was too late. I'd already had my legal team draft the cease and desist. The moment she finally shut the camera down, the email hit their inbox. Subject, notice of pending defamation lawsuit. Keywords, malicious intent, slander, civil damages. Margaret stared at the email like it was a death warrant. Vanessa looked up at her mother, and something inside her cracked. Her eyes were cold. Empty. Her voice was a low hiss through gritted teeth. This was your genius plan. Now look where it got us. Margaret blinked, stunned, not yet catching up. I did it for you. You think I wanted this? You were the one who said Ethan had money. You said if he married you, we'd. Money. 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 That's all you care about. Vanessa screamed and hurled a chair across the room. It shattered against the wall. She staggered backward, her broken leg slamming into a table edge. She gasped, collapsing into the wheelchair, drenched in cold sweat. She pointed a trembling finger at her mother. We're a goddamn joke. You made us a joke. A live-stream circus and a lawyer's target. Her face twisted with fury. Then, with a sudden shove, she pushed Margaret in the chest. Margaret wasn't expecting it. Her heel slipped. Her skull hit the sharp corner of the table with a sickening crack. The sound echoed. Then silence. Margaret collapsed, limp. Unmoving. Vanessa froze, staring. And for the first time, she looked truly alone. Vanessa sat hunched in the dim hospital light, clutching her phone like a lifeline. The cold blue glow from the screen painted her face a ghostly shade of green. Her fingers hovered over a single name in her contacts. Mason. Rage flooded her veins. Everything that had gone wrong, she pinned on him. The betrayal. The downfall. The ruined body. The public humiliation. The lawsuit. If only she'd married Ethan. If only she hadn't listened to Mason's whispered schemes and gold-drenched promises. She grit her teeth until her jaw ached. Then, with a few deep, measured breaths, she opened the chat window. Mason, I know Monroe Corp is gone. But I didn't lose everything. I hid some money, enough to start over. Let's leave this place. We can disappear into Europe. Just you and me. Mason read the message, his thumb hovering midair. He hadn't replied to her in weeks. He'd ghosted her the moment everything fell apart. But now. Money. That word alone made his hesitation falter. He typed, cautious. You're not lying, are you? Vanessa replied instantly. Have I ever lied to you? I loved you, Mason. You know that. Let's just run. Start clean. We'll buy tickets tonight. The truth? She didn't have a cent left. But she didn't need truth. She only needed bait. Even if there was a 1 in a million chance of luring him out, she was going to take it. If she was going to drown, then Mason was coming with her. Sure enough, 8 p.m. sharp, Mason pushed open the private room door. He didn't waste a second. Where's the money? Vanessa turned slowly, dragging her leg, her cane tapping against the floor like a loaded gun cocking. Her eyes gleamed, not with affection, but with venom. I don't have any money. Before he could react, she tossed the cane aside. Crack. The wooden bat slammed into his skull. Mason collapsed to the floor with a grunt. Vanessa climbed on top of him, legs shaking but determined, and wrapped both hands around his throat. You ruined everything, she shrieked. Her fingers dug into his windpipe, nails breaking skin. If it weren't for you, I'd be Mrs. Ethan Eleanor by now. Caldwell Holdings would be mine. I wouldn't be broke, humiliated, crippled. Mason clawed at her arms, scratching at her face, his fingers desperate and shaking. But she didn't even flinch. She tightened her grip, her eyes wide, glassy, unblinking. You wanted money, she hissed. You can have it, when you're dead. His legs kicked once. Then again. Slower. Then still. Silence. Vanessa finally let go, her chest heaving. She sat back, staring at the lifeless body beneath her with cold detachment. Then, dragging her cane back into her hand, she stumbled out of the room, limping, panting, but determined. The plan was simple: kill Mason, vanish into Europe, and start over. But what she didn't know was that the debt collectors had been tracking her for days. And they were waiting. As she limped down a narrow alley beside the airport, two shadows moved from the darkness. Then more. Rough hands grabbed her. She didn't even get to scream. They closed in, forming a wall of muscle and fury, cutting off her last escape. "Where do you think you're going?" The voice was low, gravel-thick. Vanessa froze, then screamed as a boot slammed into her injured leg. She hit the ground hard, howling in agony, but the fists came down before she could beg. "I have money. Please, I have." Her voice cracked as another blow cut her off. "I have money." She curled into herself, arms over her head, her body trembling under the flurry of kicks and punches. One of the thugs yanked her suitcase open. Nothing but a few bills and some clothes. "This is it," he snapped. "You trying to insult us? You think this pays off millions in debt?" When they were done, she was barely breathing. A heap of blood and bone on cracked pavement, her eyes glassy and distant. She didn't scream anymore. She just lay there, still. It wasn't until early morning that a city sanitation worker, doing the rounds behind the airport loading zone, spotted her. He called the police. An ambulance arrived. Vanessa made it to the hospital. But barely. Weeks later, in court, Vanessa stood pale and stiff as prosecutors detailed the murder of Mason Clark. She tilted her chin up defiantly, voice hoarse. "Why would I kill him? Look at me, I was beaten half to death. How could I possibly kill anyone?" The courtroom watched the surveillance footage. Clear. Unedited. Vanessa straddling Mason's chest. Both hands locked around his throat. The life draining from his eyes. She watched it like it was someone else. "I didn't do it," she muttered, again and again. "It wasn't me. I didn't kill him." But the evidence didn't end there. The police produced another report. Margaret. Her body had been discovered in the wreckage of their old rental unit. Autopsy results were conclusive. Blunt force trauma. Massive internal bleeding. No signs of defensive struggle. A match for the table corner. Fingerprints on her shoulders. Scratches on Vanessa's wrists. Scene analysis. Trace forensics. Everything pointed one way. To her. The verdict came down swift and heavy. Vanessa Monroe. Convicted. 2 counts. Murder. I lay stretched out on a beach chair, the sun warming my skin, the sea breeze making me feel deliciously weightless. Lazy. Free. My phone buzzed with a push notification, and as I tapped it open, a headline flashed across the screen. I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud. Vanessa Monroe, found guilty of double homicide. Former heiress now facing life in prison. A woman who single-handedly drove a company into bankruptcy. A daughter who destroyed her own mother. All by her own hand. Just then, Anna emerged from the ocean, dripping and sun-kissed, her face darker from the days of sunlight, eyes squinting at me with curiosity. "What's so funny?" she asked, grinning as she flopped onto the lounge chair beside me. I locked my phone, the screen going black as I tucked it face down on the table. "Nothing," I said, the corner of my mouth still lifted. "Just thinking." I turned my face toward the sun, letting the light sink into my skin. "How happy I am now."